Every time I sit on the floor, I feel like namaste. So every time I do like these spiritual videos or I'm sitting on the floor, I'm going to say namaste, and then we're going to go into my intro. Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to my channel, Tarot by Bronx. This is Tarot Talk. These are Tarot Things, and I'm your host, Boogie, yeah, Bronx, and I am here to take care of everybody. The karmics, specifically karmic relationships. This video is long overdue. This is like something that I always get asked, and I just never sat down and fully dissected it. Like, I knew what it was in my head, but now with this video, we're going to be covering a lot of ground. There's a lot of information that I'm going to be talking about. So check the description box. I'm going to add the chapter so you'll know exactly which section is which. And I hope that I clear up all your questions. If not, I will make this into a part 2. Hopefully I won't have to. Hopefully I cover everything that needs to be said. Once you kind of get the real concept, is pretty much like it clicks. Okay. So I got some notes here that I took about karmic relationships, cycles, myths, everything that you need to know. All right. Okay. So we're going to get started. Now, if we talk about karmic relationships, we first have to talk about karma. So what is karma? Now, the textbook definition of karma, or if you Google it, it says the sum of a person's actions in this and previous states of existence viewed as deciding their fate for future existences. All right. And karma originates from Hinduism and Buddhism because they heavily believe in reincarnation, and I believe in reincarnation as well. But basically, in a nutshell, what that means is your actions of your previous lifetime will always follow you into this lifetime. So depending on what you did, because we're always creating karma. All right. So karma, again, karma is just cause and effect. That's it. Karma is action. It's a neutral term, but depending on what that action is determines the fate of whether it can be considered good or bad. Okay. So take it just as whatever actions you had, whatever interactions you had in your previous lifetimes leading into this lifetime, that is going to determine what your soul lessons are, what your karmic contracts, your soul contracts are, and things of that nature. Okay. So that's what karma is in a nutshell, and that is why you have lessons, because you've had previous lifetimes, or there's your actions always create a reaction. All right, so that's what you need to remember. So continuing on here, karmic cycles and karmic relationships. I wrote this part. This is kind of just going into what it is. Those are from reincarnation, like we just said, from previous lives and debts your soul agreed to sign off and balance in this lifetime. Okay. And you're building more karma. So like, you have to be conscious of what you're doing, how you're treating people, how you react to things, what you do, because that will create karmic debt that eventually needs to be balanced out. And so that's why people say, oh, you're balancing karma, because you're balancing some type of imbalance that you had from previous lifetimes, or your soul agreed to balance in this lifetime. Okay. It gets very deep, and it's those types of things that you can't necessarily show for, like in a logical sense. It's more so felt, and if you're spiritually aware, you'll know more. Now that we talked about karma, we can talk about karmic relationships. So my definition of karmic relationships that I personally feel is, it's people that you have dealt with and interacted with in previous lifetimes, good or bad interactions. And you can attract karmic partners, whether this is people that you've met in past lives. I feel like anybody that you met in your past life is considered a karmic relationship, because if you're meeting again, there's a reason. Being that our souls, there's billions and trillions and cajillions of souls. So the fact that you're crossing paths again with someone that you shared a previous life with means that there's something that you still need to learn from them, or they need to learn from you. And we attract karmic partners when we are looking for things, specifically love or something to fill a void outside of ourselves. And we need to learn some harsh truths within. And potentially maybe we're not ready to admit to our own healing. So really, karmic relationships, or any relationships, are a mirror. And I'm going to discuss more about what I mean by that. But karmic relationships are meant for you. Okay, they're meant for you to change your behavior, not to change another person's behavior. I'm gonna say that again because that might, ruffle some feathers. Karmic relationships are always meant for you to change your behavior, not to change another person's behavior. Okay, because usually with that, it comes with a weakness of self-awareness sometimes. All right, and then you think that it's about the other person, but it's really more about you. So someone asked me, I'm going to be flipping back and forth between the notes that I wrote and then Patreon messages that are on there. But someone asked me on my Patreon when I posted it, what's the difference between a karmic relationship and a soulmate relationship? So again, in my own words, this is what a karmic relationship looks like over soulmate, because I've had both. Twin flame, that's something that I'm not going to really touch on because I don't know personally if I've met my twin flame yet. That's something I'm still very uncertain about, but karmics and soulmates, yes, I know that I have met them. So in karmic relationships, if it's more so on the harder side of things, the negative side of things, karmic relationships are usually abusive or toxic in some way, codependency, and they are very off and on. So most types of people you hear about in karmic relationships, if you've been in a relationship like this or you've heard about relationships, somebody's like, oh yeah, I've dealt with this person off and on for like 10 years or for some years or even months off and on, or like we go and then we come back and we go and come back. But usually it's over a prolonged period of time, especially if they don't know that they're in a karmic cycle or in a karmic relationships. Those are the off and on relationships, usually over a course of years. Okay, like it's like, most times it's always off and on. All right. Karmic relationships, they're harder to maintain, and usually you meet them earlier in life. So the cycle can last years, but you usually tend to meet them, I feel like, more so before your Saturn return, which is usually before the age of 30. So like the first half of your life, especially in your teenage years, your early 20s. Okay, most of those are going to be karmic relationships, especially if you're not like as spiritually aware, or before you have a spiritual awakening. Lots of karmic partnerships. Okay. Karmic relationships ultimately come from a place of lack, because you get very obsessive about the relationship. You get obsessive about the person, and it feels like a need. Like you need to be connected to this person. Like you need their energy. It's like a very needy, obsessive, codependent type of relationship. It's usually imbalanced, heavily so. You can find a lot of runner chaser dynamic in karmic relationships. Like one person is like fully present, the other person may be like completely unavailable, and that's like a really bad imbalance. A karmic relationship, in my eyes, can never be fully healthy, honestly, because there's always going to be something to learn. Granted, we learn from every relationship, we do, but there's always going to be like harsher lessons to learn that you might not be able to learn in a healthy relationship, if you get what I'm saying. And more so, it's like in a karmic relationship, you want to get out. Like there's a very strong yearning to break out of that. Like you really want to leave, but you feel like you can't. Like that, again, that's that obsessive neediness energy, and it comes from a sense of lack, feeling like you cannot get out of it. And there's a lot of like patterns, so it's something that constantly repeats itself in the relationship. So it's like, it could be like a pattern of verbal abuse, or like cheating. Someone cheats, you break up, you come back. Cheat, break up, come back. Or any type of pattern that's very hard to get out of. Or you see a pattern in the types of people you date, or the types of situations you find yourself in. This could be with friends as well. Okay, so that's what generally a karmic relationship looks like and feels like. It's very difficult. It's very hard. Very off and on. Pretty toxic dynamic. Usually abusive to some capacity. Okay, it's more challenging than easy. Now, soulmate connections. Soulmate connections are usually the opposite, like the exact opposite of a karmic relationship, and they come to you during periods of your life where you're really loving yourself, or where, so like think of your karmic cycle of relationships. When you meet karmic relationships, they usually show up at a period where you're not loving yourself enough, or you're not as self-aware as you should be about what you're doing or the people you're dealing with or the energy you're allowing in your space. Now, not to say that anybody deserves this. Nobody does. Nobody deserves bad things, abuse. But karmic relationships kind of bring that to your attention, that you can't just be sleepwalking out here. Like, you have to be very aware of, sorry, I think I spit. You have to be very aware of the people that you're interacting with. You need to be on your P's and Q's, basically. You don't need to be paranoid, but you do need to be more aware of like who you're allowing in your energy, who you're dealing with on an energetic level, whether that's sexually, physically, emotionally. You just need to be more aware, and you need to take better care of your energy. And that's what karmic relationships are meant to teach you. You can't just be letting anybody up in here. All right. But yeah, soulmates, very natural. It's a very easy going connection for the most part. It's harmonious. It feels like you're very compatible, like you have a lot in common. Now, karmic, again, this is a difference. What I feel like karmic is like explosive emotions, like very intense, very like, you can have different levels of intensity, but it feels almost like intoxicatingly intense in a karmic relationship. And that isn't coming from a place of unconditional love. That's mainly infatuation and lust. Okay. And that's how you know like a karmic partnership, because it just feels very overwhelmingly explosive. While yes, soulmate, you have a lot of intensity there as well. It mostly feels like a slow burn type of relationship. Like you feel the pull, you feel the attraction, but it doesn't feel like you're going to like suffocate and die. Okay. Because it's just so overwhelmingly intoxicating. And that's just from my personal experience, how I know to decipher them. Okay. Now the thing about soulmate connections as well, soulmate connections can be short-lived. They can be very short-lived, unfortunately. And I'm not actually sure why that is. I think that's because it's coming from a place of unconditional love. It's one of those things that you're able to release, I guess, a little bit more easily than you would a karmic relationship, because it's like more gentle. And usually for soulmates, it's like coming from a fear-based place. Usually with karmic relationships, it's not so much fear versus like this obsession and needing to be very close and like kind of this merging energy. But like soulmate connections are also meant to teach you something about yourself, but usually it's more so triggering things that are fears, like intimacy fears, or vulnerability fears, and things like that, or triggering like inner child wounds. But it's not necessarily that they're abusive or they're toxic or anything. It could be just like one person is afraid, they run away. This triggers your abandonment issues. So it doesn't necessarily mean it's like toxic. It could have like karmic elements in it, but it's not a karmic relationship necessarily. It's a lot more easygoing. It's a lot more healthy. It's just a lot smoother than a karmic relationship. It doesn't have like those like those super high, super low moments. It will have, challenges, because I'm going to talk about myths right after this. So we'll talk about what this means. But they show up, I forgot to put my phone on Do Not Disturb. But yeah, they show up when you are really loving yourself. You're putting out that energy of exactly what you want, pure intentions. Like you're very more aware of like how you feel about yourself, and you tend to meet them later on in life. So it varies depending on your level of self-awareness, when you'll stop meeting as many karmic relationships and you'll start meeting more soulmates. So again, this usually is after Saturn return, because that's when most people, for me personally, I feel like I've reached a level of self-awareness a lot earlier than like a lot of people that I know. So I don't feel like I'll be meeting many more karmic situations, pretty much. But yeah, so the more aware you are spiritually, emotionally, mentally, higher levels of consciousness, you'll meet more soulmates. And they're coming from a place of unconditional love and purity, not from a place of lack. So with that being said, myths about karmic relationships or soulmates or any type of relationships, really. So one myth I want to bust that some people still don't know this, that we don't just have one soulmate. We have multiple soulmates. Soulmates are very romanticized in movies, on television. People think, oh, my one true love, my one soulmate. No. And also, soulmates aren't always romantic. That's another myth. Soulmates can be anybody, your friend, your teacher, your grandma, your pet, whoever. All right. And so it's very important that when you're manifesting soulmates, you're specific. Like, I want a romantic soulmate, a long-term romantic soulmate, not just, oh, I want my soulmate. That can be your neighbor. Okay. That you feel a very strong attraction to or connection to. Another myth is that all relationships are void of karma. I honestly feel like everybody you meet is karmic in a sense. Like, you're meant to meet that person basically, and you create karma with that person when you interact with them in this lifetime. Not to say every relationship is karmic. Like, this is the part that's gonna be confusing. Like, every relationship is not a karmic relationship, but every relationship has karma. I'll say it that way. Okay. Again, soulmate relationships are easy. That's another misconception that people have. Soulmate relationships are not easy either, because there's still a lot of fear, like I mentioned. So there's still some type of unhealthy dynamic. It doesn't necessarily mean it's toxic, or it's like, you still can have any element of a karmic relationships. That's why it's like, you know, very subtle differences, but it's more so in how you feel about it, and it's not usually overtly toxic. And usually soulmate connections are short-lived, or it's like you cross paths for a season and then that's it, and then you kind of let it go. So those are the main myths that I can think of right now. If I think of any more, I will, you know, continue on. Karmic cycles. I'm kind of just going to go over the bullet points and then I'll explain. So karmic cycles, mirrors of karma. That's how I would describe it. So again, mirroring means like it's always teaching you something about yourself. And when you lack a lot of self-awareness, or you're not as aware as you think you are, you'll have an ego death, which is like full-blown awareness, very shocking awareness of yourself and your issues and your blind spots. That's how you'll be able to really heal from a karmic relationship, because you're very aware of yourself. You're very aware of your patterns. And I'll go more into that about when you're healing. Ending up in the same cycles with the same types of people until you change your behavior and break the cycles and build healthy relationships. Yeah, again, I said the less aware you are, the more karmic relationships you will attract. Look for synchronicities and patterns in your relationships, such as like, you know, always ending up with the same types of people, whether that's unavailable, abusive, toxic, narcissistic. And again, lacking that awareness, self-awareness, is going to be very hard for you, because then you're going to lack awareness in seeing red flags in other people and being able to shift your behavior. Now, another myth is that all karmic relationships are bad. That is not the case. We do have good karmic relationships, because you didn't just F up in your last lifetime. You helped people. You were good. I hope you were good at some point. So, you know, there's people that you helped, you served them. And so you'll know it's a karmic relationship when like people randomly give you money, or people randomly want to help you, or that like, I just feel the urge to reach out or love you. Like, I don't know. Like, if you've ever had that happen, that is a karmic relationship, because they had a karmic debt to pay you back. Their soul wanted to give back to you in the next lifetime. So you'll see that's how it looks in a good sense of a healthy karmic relationship, or like someone that's karmic, you know, or if on the other side of the spectrum, like, this kind of dark, but like if somebody kills you in this lifetime, they had a karmic destiny to kill you at a certain place and time, whatever that looks like. Okay, if you get killed by someone. So that's another example of karma. But yes, it's not all bad relationships. That's what good karma looks like. It's usually people that are genuinely wanting to help you, especially strangers. That's what that looks like. Or somebody just like, I just feel the need to take care of you. Yeah. So another person asked me something about our parents. Yes, our parents are our first karmic relationships in our lives. And because karma is about action and teaching and lessons. So our parents are our first teachers. So they'll be our first karmic relationships. So other astrology aspects that can indicate a karmic relationship or past life. I haven't looked too much into this, but just going off the top of my head, any what did I put? South node aspects. So looking up your south node, if your south node falls in somebody's 7th house, or it's conjunct your Venus or your moon or whatever, or vice versa, that definitely means that you had some type of relationship to them, or like past life. South node conjunct Saturn, it's like y'all could have had like a teacher student dynamic, or a parent child dynamic, which is like kind of awkward because usually karmic relationships are romantic. So it's like you could have been somebody's like sibling in a last lifetime, which is so like awkward to me. But yeah, so Saturn aspects, like someone Saturn conjuncting your whatever placement, sun, moon, rising, Venus, north node, it doesn't matter. 10th house synastry, 8th house synastry, 12th house synastry. So especially 12th house though, any of your personal planets falling into someone's 12th house or vice versa. Those are some aspects. And 10th house, same thing, or your planet's 8th house, there's your 8th house, whatever. For those of you that are not really into astrology, or you don't really know what I'm talking about, I'm sorry. That's a different video for a different day, because I want to talk last part about how to heal, basically, in a nutshell. I kind of like briefed over it a lot, but it's the same concept about loving yourself. Okay, so when I say love yourself, you know, we always hear this: love yourself first, put yourself first, love yourself. You got to love yourself before you could love somebody else. And in a sense, like, yeah, it might be annoying to hear when you're just in this place, like you just want a relationship. But the reason why I feel like that is very important, it's not just loving yourself by doing nice things for yourself or being alone. People think loving yourself is being alone. No, it's not about being alone. Loving yourself in a way, like to heal from a karmic relationship, is to be very aware of yourself. One, to be aware of your strengths, be aware of your great qualities, what you bring to the table, you know, your strongest attributes. But then to love yourself is also to be very aware of your weaknesses, because when you're aware of your weaknesses, you're like, okay, I'm not good with boundaries, I'm not good at identifying red flags, I'm not good at communicating, whatever that is. It's very hard to see, but that's why I say the more self-aware you are, the less you'll meet the karmic relationships, because you'll know like what you have to work on, and you won't fall into that trap as much. So that's why when you're loving yourself, you're being more aware of your weaknesses and your strengths. You can really play off of those, and you can learn, and you'll say, okay, I know I struggle with this pattern with people, so this is how I have to start working on it. I have to start, remember, karma is about action, changing your behavior. So if you have poor boundaries, you know, and you don't want to end up in another vicious karmic cycle, you're going to have to start practicing boundaries with people around you. You're going to have to start saying no more often. And it's just as simple as that. There's no shortcut to it. There's no like, oh, I'll just wait until I get into another relationship. No, you don't have to. You can start right now. You can start right now. Because there's always things you can practice with people, okay? Or communication, like I'm not good at speaking up for myself or defending myself. You can start doing that in your everyday life. Okay, so when you get into another relationship, or you're looking for your next partner, you're very aware of what your standards are. You're very aware of what you need, and your needs, that all ties into loving yourself. You have to know what you need. You have to know what you don't need as well. Karmic relationships could be there to show you what you don't need, so that you're aware of what you do need. All right. So practicing more self-awareness, your standards move up. You move from a scarcity mindset of feeling like you just need somebody to love you, you just need a relationship, you just need somebody to fill a void, to an abundant one of saying, I'm not missing any love in my life. Like, I would love a partner to coexist with and to share the love that I have already, not for us to merge, not for us to be 50-50, but to be 100-100, be two whole individuals. And when you're not in a scarcity mindset anymore, you won't settle. Okay, settling is a thing in karmic relationships, because you know, if you don't have high self-esteem, or you're you know, that's your weakness, self-esteem, self-worth, you're going to like jump on the first opportunity for whoever shows you a little bit of attention. And that's a scarcity mindset, because that's your way of putting out there that you don't feel like you'll be able to find the love you're looking for. So you're going to just jump on whoever gives you attention. And that's not good. Okay, so that's why it's important to do your shadow work, to identify what your triggers are, identify the parts of you that are considered weaknesses so that you can grow those and just really bring your self-awareness up. And so yeah, that's how you heal, basically. That's a very simple version. It's simple, it's not easy. Okay, it takes a lot of time, takes a lot of practice, because you're unlearning a lot of things, a lot of trauma, everything like that. So our karmic relations long term, it depends on you. Okay, it depends on how aware you are of it, how self-aware you are, how willing you are to work with changing your behavior, and that's how long the cycle will last. Will karmic relationships work out long term? It most likely will not work out, and it most likely will come with a lot of difficulties, because karmic relationships are meant to, in a more so harsher way, push you to elevate out of that space, because karmic relationships are, you know, like I keep saying, it's at a place where you're at a lower vibrational level, in a sense of not being as self-aware as you could be or you should be. And so, like, it's meant to teach you to get out of that space, so you won't even need that space anymore. So you'll know when you're out of a karmic relationship, you'll know when you're over it, because you won't feel attached anymore. You won't feel like you need that person. You won't feel like you need their energy. You won't feel like there's a lot of things that you need associated with that, because you're over it, basically. It just kind of just like gradually just falls off, and you're like, oh, I don't feel that attachment. So then you can move forward and you can grow and level up to the next type of relationship you're meant to have. Karmic relationship, I suggest cord cutting as well. If you feel like you really have tried everything and you can't do that alone, find someone to do a cord cutting for you. I have someone that I usually go to. I'm not sure if she's open right now, but you know, you can maybe find someone on Twitter or YouTube, cord cutting. I have had to do it before. Yeah, so yeah, life partners are the people really that are meant to last forever in our lives, and that doesn't mean like they're constantly in our lives, but they may come in and out, like not like in you're like cutting them off or it's like a breakup, but it's like, you know, you just kind of go your separate ways and then come back, like it's very organic. Okay, but you know, everything is meant to teach us. Soulmates kind of teach us in a more gentle way. Karmic relationships teach us in a more blindingly like trying to scream at you kind of way. All right, but that's everything for soulmates, karmics. You know, I don't really talk about twin flames. They all kind of blend together at the end of the day. So I'm sorry that I couldn't, you know, verify for twin flame, but I don't like to speak on anything that I'm not really sure about. So again, thank you all. If you have any additional questions, leave it in the comments and I will try to answer. I don't think I'll need to do a part 2 for this though. I think I covered everything basically. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope that it resonated for you. If it resonated for you, let me know that in the comments down below. I am at Tarot by Bronx on everything.